everyone. Today, we're going to be interviewing Mihika Iyer, who is a grade 12 student here at SAS, and this is her third year in Singapore. And the focus of our interview is going to be mostly around her identity and its relationship to gender. So hi, Mihika. Thank you so much for being willing to be part of it. So to kick off, what is your identity? What is your definition of identity?
Identity to me would be your core values. So what do you value and what characteristics of yourself or people that are around you make you the most you? So for example, for me, what would define my identity, and I think I skipped a question, it would be compassion and the idea of helping each other and helping others and that kind of sense of solidarity. That I think identity are the feelings and the values and the things you like to see in other people that you kind of like meld into yourself, which are most important to you, and you wouldn't be you without.
So how has your understanding of your identity changed over time?
When I was younger, I would identify myself in relation to someone else. So I'd say I am my sister, my older sister's younger sister, or I'm my parents' daughter, or I'm in this class, or I'm from this place. And it was always me tying myself to a larger entity or a larger place instead of actually understanding what makes me me and the characteristics that make me me. So definitely, I think that my definition of and understanding of identity has changed, as it's not so much as the circumstances that build you to be you, but it's more the things that drive you to be better, to love the things you love, and to do the things you do.
Great. So I know you gotten into it a little bit, but how would you sort of describe your overall identity?
Well, I'll just be blatant with it. At the core, ever since I was 4 years old, I wanted to become a doctor. And that, in a lot of ways, has shaped my idea of identity. The characteristics that I see in top medical professionals, so the idea of compassion, the idea of selflessness, the idea of understanding, those characteristics are things that I would define myself as, and therefore define my identity. So it's also, I think, identity is a lot about your worldview. So I believe that people in general are those who care about others, and that we all kind of work together to make the world a little bit of a better place. So yeah, that would be my identity. It's happy, helping other people kind of thing.
Okay, great. Thank you. So how has your identity been shaped by your life experiences?
Okay, that's a good question. So my sister and I are the first girls in, I think, around 4 generations of my dad's family. And so a lot of, like, whenever we meet with my aunts and uncles or my dad's side of the family, they treat us so differently because they've never had young children, young girls like being educated the way that we are, having the same upbringing that we did. And in a lot of ways, that was probably the biggest life experience or life circumstance that impacted my identity. It was realizing that I was treated differently because I was female than my other cousins, who were treated kinder and were given more respect because they were male. And again, a lot about moving. I was born in Hong Kong, and I like to say that I was very young, and when I moved to Shanghai, there was still a really big divide. In my classes, all the smart kids, like whenever we would do like math enrichment, or whenever all the teachers' favorites were very obviously boys. And it seemed like there was definitely like a favoritism thing going around. And I always felt like my gender, like my value as a female would change depending on the place I was living. In China, like the history of China, it's a lot where males are favored as children over females. And then I moved back to Hong Kong, and then I moved to the Netherlands, and I didn't feel that at all. That was the only place I've lived in where I did not think that my gender had an impact on my well-being, on my life, and the successes I could create. But especially going back to Hong Kong again and then Singapore again, like the place that I lived in had the biggest impact on the way I saw myself and the way I identified.
Okay, great. So, when was the first time that you noticed that gender created differences?
Probably, oh, okay. So I think it was sometime in elementary school, and we were doing a Secret Santa, and our teachers bought us all presents or something. It was like a parent given thing. And it was very nondescript. It would just say like, oh, buy a present for Mihika, buy a present for XYZ. And I would see that all the girls received Barbie dolls and all the boys received science kits, like create your own volcano or fix this robot kind of thing. And that was the first time I realized that we're treated very differently. It's also how whenever the books we would read in class, all the books we would read would be written by women and females, and all the scientists we would learn about and all the videos we would watch would be of males. And I think that was the first time I really realized that there is a huge difference between gender, especially in like science and in school itself.
Great. So, can you describe a time when you've been positively or negatively impacted by your gender?
Um, Very recently, so as I said, I like to my center or how I told you that I identify as someone who wants to become a doctor, who wants to help people. So I've always taken the harder STEM courses because those are things that I enjoy, the classes that I'm interested in. And a lot of the time, I feel like I'm disadvantaged, or it's a lot harder for me to succeed when I lack female role models, and I've, in my 4 years of high school, I have had two female teachers. One of them was a STEM teacher in 4 years. So that means of around 24 classes, two of them have been female. So I feel like I've been negatively impacted by because of my gender, by not having the same people and the same positive role models. And if I want to go into STEM, if I want to become a doctor, if I want to become a strong, independent woman in STEM, and I've gone through 4 years of high school with having one idea of that in my workplace, in my school, it's very difficult to see myself performing as well and see myself doing as well if I don't see people like me doing the same things that I want to do.
That was great. Great answer. So, when did you realize that gender shaped who you are?
Honestly, for a really long, it was a very recent understanding, I think. Before, as I said, I understood, like at first I would always define myself in regards to other people. I'm in this class, from this country, whatever, whatever. And then slowly it would be, I love to read, I love waffles, and my identity became things that I liked and things that I loved. And then later it would be qualities that I had, qualities that I valued, things that made me me. But only recently did I realize how strong of an impact my gender has on who I am. I believe that I persevere as hard as I do and I work as hard as I do because of my experiences being negatively impacted as a female in the course of study that I'm interested in. And that's definitely played a part. It's the idea of being strong, and I feel like that's a very prominent quality that I have, but I wouldn't feel the same way if I didn't go through the experiences that I did regarding how hard it was to thrive as a girl at SAS in high school, doing hard AP STEM classes without the same role models. So I define myself and I identify as a strong, independent woman. And I say that first. When someone says, "Who are you?" I say, "Strong, independent woman." And there's so much more that comes with it, but that would be the first thing that I say, because I shouldn't I wouldn't be the same person if I didn't have to go through the things I did because of my gender. So that would be it.
That's powerful. So when do you remember noticing a difference in life based on your gender?
Obviously, a lot of the way that you're treated. Sometimes, it's not always bad. Like, being a girl isn't the worst. People treat you. Sometimes in classes, male teachers will obviously prefer the females because they're softer, they're kinder, and they kind of like have some kind of sympathy for them. And I felt like that in a lot of classes where my teachers will like me more than the boys, and they'll kind of pity me more because like I'm the minority out of a very boy-dominated class. It's a lot of the way that I'm treated. I don't have, whenever you have to lift something heavy, no one's going to ask me to do it. They'll ask the boys to do it. And it's a lot of really common customs that I think people have defined gender by. Those gender norms, like, oh, men have to carry things, women have to be, a really good example is whenever a teacher wants us to write notes, and there are more boys in the class than girls in the class, he'll immediately ask the girl to take the notes because they have better handwriting. And so that would be from a very young age, even when the same thing with the presents, how all the boys got robotics things and science experiments and all the girls got Barbie dolls. There's been a difference from being in elementary school, and there still remains a difference right now in high school. And I don't think it'll change anytime soon.
Wow. Thank you, Mihika. That's my last questions. And thank you so much for sharing your feelings with us and your opinions. And I'm sure our sixth grade students are really gonna learn a lot from you. So thank you.
Thank you.